All right, welcome in. Another week, another episode of Verdicts and Vibes. My name's Melissa Iannuzzo, a 30-year Boston radio morning show host, and I'm alongside a 28, 29-year-ish amazing attorney, Chris Brown.
How are you, sis? How you feeling today?
I'm good. I've had a pretty rough week, emotionally, mentally. It's been trying. A lot of things have happened. But I love coming in here every week because it kind of gives me a nice distraction.
Oh, yeah, I get that. Lord knows I need it myself. So much going on right now.
I know you've been very busy. You were traveling last week. And unfortunately, can we give the update about the College World Series?
Yeah, West Virginia lost. They got knocked out. Congratulations to Oklahoma. The Sooners won the national championship last night. They have an amazing squad. They got multiple players that should be drafted next month. So, go Sooners.
We were rooting for West Virginia. But so anyways, we got to move along here. We have two cases we're going to be covering this week, or two trials, I should say. The first one is a new one involving rapper Sexyy Red, and she's suing her security guard after $500,000 of goods were stolen from her home during a party she was having. And both of these trials that we are going to be discussing, or the cases and trials, are going to be very relatable to our audience, because this could happen to anyone. You're having a party and things get stolen from said party. Who's liable? So we're going to be discussing that. And then we're talking about the Chris Brown dog bite trial, where his former housekeeper was mauled by Chris's dog.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, he said it wasn't his dog.
Right, he's saying it's not his dog.
We're going to talk about it.
So we'll get into it on this week's episode of Verdicts and Vibes. It's going to be a good one. All of us can relate to both of those stories. So we will get into it right now, right after our theme song from Money Mav, Verdicts and Vibes, where we separate the facts
from the fame.
Let's go, Mav.
Gentlemen, it's Verdicts and Vibes. This is Verdicts and Vibes. We got time today. Let's talk lawsuits, let's talk crimes. Who got sued now? Who's dead wrong and who's right? Who got paid and who's getting jail time?
As always, thank you to Money Mav for the Verdicts and Vibes theme song. All right, so we're going to get right into this week's first civil suit, and it's from Sexyy Red. Now, if you don't know who Sexyy Red is, so personally, I don't listen to Sexyy Red music. I know who she is. She's let's just say she is a very colorful rapper, known for her raunchy lyrics. I mean, her big hit that kind of put her on the scene was called Pound Town. So that kind of gives you the direction of where Sexyy Red's music is. But she's a rapper from St. Louis. And the reason why I kind of picked this case, or this suit, to be featured in this week's episode is because I feel like a lot of us can relate to what happened.
Really?
I do.
You around a lot of folks getting robbed?
Not necessarily getting robbed, but I've definitely heard of people going to parties and having things go missing. For sure. Not necessarily being robbed, but there's a lot of legal ramifications that can come from something like that, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I have questions for you.
All right.
But let's kind of go over what happened with Sexyy Red. So obviously, I can't relate on that level of how much money she has, but according to this lawsuit, Sexyy Red and her family were allegedly victims of a burglary in Florida, where $500,000 in handbags and necklaces were stolen. So she had a birthday party for her mom at a mansion that she had rented in Florida. This happened back in January of 2025. And Sexyy Red claims that she hired a security guard to protect and secure the premises during the festivities, but that a single masked individual entered the home through an unlocked door and committed a burglary, saying that necklaces, charms, rings, bracelets, watches, and designer handbags totaling no less than $500,000 were stolen.
One man took all that out?
Allegedly, yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
She says a police investigation was launched. Police determined that a door was left unlocked. So she is now blaming her security team, led by a man named Carl Thompson, saying he was the last person to leave the property right before the burglary, and she's seeking $500,000 in damages.
So he was already gone. So his shift was over.
Yes. That's what it looks like.
Okay, so he left.
Yes, left the door unlocked.
An alleged robbery occurs.
Mm-hmm.
And you're blaming him for leaving a door unlocked.
Yes. Yep.
Last time I checked my front door, you know what I can do with my front door?
Lock it.
I can lock it from inside my house. Does your front door work the same?
Yes. I actually only have one door in my apartment, and it's always locked.
I have two, and I know what I can do with either door.
Right.
When I'm home, I can lock it.
All right. So
why are we assuming that he has keys?
We aren't. But
there seems to be a bunch of assumptions going on here.
Yeah.
Sexyy Red, you got a lot of explaining to do, because I'm calling BS on this one.
Yeah.
This doesn't smell good at all.
All right. Let's take this into terms that us, the average Joe, can understand.
Okay.
Or questions that I have.
I'm the average Joe.
That's what I'm saying. Us.
Yeah, okay.
Me and you. And the average person listening to the podcast. Because there's an old show that was on HBO, Sex and the City, one of my favorite shows of all time.
I remember.
Something similar happened in an episode.
Carrie was the bomb.
In the episode of Sex and the City, and you guys will understand where this is going after I explain. She went to a party at a friend of hers' house.
Mm-hmm.
At the party, the friend was asking everyone to take their shoes off when they walked in because they have kids. They didn't want dust and everything getting around. So Carrie took off her $450 or $525 pair of Manolo Blahnik shoes, left them at the front door. When she was going to leave the party, the shoes were gone. The shoes were never recovered. They were gone. Poof, vanished into thin air.
Mm-hmm.
So Carrie's attorney friend, Miranda, told her legally she's responsible for those shoes, meaning the owner of the apartment or the condo and the person who threw the party.
For not properly having security around the shoes, yeah.
Okay.
That's a theory.
Okay. So if I am a guest at Sexyy Red's house,
right?
Okay, my handbag gets stolen.
Uh-huh.
Is Sexyy Red then liable for that property? Meaning, could I sue her and get that back?
If you want to argue that there were individuals that should have been securing the property while at the party, you can make the argument. Do I think it's going to fly? No. Do I think it's... I don't think that's going to fly one bit. Because from my perspective, it becomes... If you can sue that individual who owns the property, they don't necessarily know that someone, another guest, is a klepto, out here stealing things.
Right.
They don't have that information. If you run a gambit and they try to help you search and the shoes don't show up, I mean, it's a tough case to prove. And are you really going to sue your friend over a pair of shoes?
Right.
Now, this lawsuit here for me is stupid on so many levels. First, she's not even claiming that all the stuff stolen was hers.
Right. Correct.
So how are you suing for other people? It doesn't make any sense to me. You are suing for other people. And last I checked, when I read the actual story on this, because I was looking for the actual complaint, couldn't find it. This was a rented party, a rented mansion.
It was.
So if it's a rented mansion, you can't sue the owner because the owner has nothing to do with this.
Correct.
Okay. You can only sue the organizer. So if people want to sue anybody, they can sue her. And she can't sue her security because he left. He was done for the night. You have no idea when this stuff, you have no idea why this stuff is his fault. Other than you claim he left a door open, unlocked. All right, he left. He doesn't have the keys to the rented mansion. He left.
Can I throw a monkey wrench into this whole thing?
Sure.
What if he was in on it?
That's a whole different story.
Right. Do you think that she is potentially setting this up to kind of insinuate that he might have been in on it?
She would have to plead that.
Okay.
She would have to plead that this person knowingly unlock the door, knowingly set up a situation to where a then masked individual would be able to enter the home and steal all of this stuff. Now, and the way this reads, because again, I don't have the complaint, this isn't a situation where there's like some armed intruder held people at gunpoint,
Right.
took all of this stuff and left. That's not the scenario that we have here. And I'm willing to bet, one thing I'm not is I am not a mansion owner. I don't own one of those. But one thing I'm pretty sure about is if I did own a mansion that I was renting, you know what I would have?
Security or locked doors?
Cameras.
Oh, duh. Yeah.
I would have cameras.
That's a good point.
If I was renting out my mansion,
Yeah.
there would be cameras all over
Absolutely.
that house, probably with the exception of the bathroom or whatever.
Right.
So, what are we doing here? Let me see the videotape, Sexy. Let me see it.
But I don't think that she is saying that she needs proof. I think she's saying she knows this happened, so she wants to sue. So you're saying you want the cameras to show what the security guard did?
I want to show what the cameras is going on. I want to see, because let's just say this guy leaves, and I don't know, 2 hours later, someone else shows up.
Yeah.
Or, maybe you can see him conversing with someone as he's leaving the property. I have no idea.
Right. I understand.
But all of this sounds so crazy. If it's phone records, all right. Let's see what his phone records say. But this sounds like utter BS to me. Based on what I've read, now the complaint may have more facts in it. I don't know. But this allegation alone that he left, if you're going to say that he set you up, then you need to put that. You need to plead that specifically. It was a setup. He was in on it. That's not what the way I read the story. That's not what's being put out there.
Now, can I add one more thing to this? Because
Sure.
we haven't mentioned this part yet, but it might clear some things up.
Mm-hmm. And what's that?
The security guard in question, Carl, actually had filed a lawsuit against Sexyy Red prior.
Yeah.
And this was back in August of 2025, pretty much saying he wasn't paid what he was supposed to be paid for his services. Supposedly.
And this strikes me as a retaliatory lawsuit.
Okay, there we go. Because that's kind of where I was going.
Now, his lawsuit is he's suing for breach of contract. He's suing for Fair Labor Act related things. And now all of a sudden, you want to sue him back. Oh, okay. This just reeks of retaliation to me. I can't wait to see how this plays out. If my opinion is correct, I love the reading about when my opinion is correct. So I want to see exactly what happens there. But right now, Sexy, you got some explaining to do.
Yeah.
This sounds like utter BS to me. I think you just need to go ahead and pay this man and stop making up stories. That's my opinion of it.
I think you're right.
If it's not made up,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But go ahead and prove it then.
Okay, so before we wrap this up, and again, I want to kind of keep this relatable to the average person listening. If I want to throw a party, okay, and one of my guests has belongings go missing at my party.
Okay, yeah.
Am I liable or responsible for those
Potentially. You are potentially
Really?
responsible. It depends on what happened.
Yeah, the circumstances.
But, I mean, if you're talking about somebody left some red bottoms at the shoe stand.
Or their coat, they took their coat off and I hung their coat in the closet, the coat's gone.
And now it's gone.
Yep.
I don't know what happened. I'm willing to bet that your friends love you and they're not going to sue you over.
Right.
But they're going to look at you real side-eyed. Like,
man.
how my coat get, who you had up in here, Melissa.
Yeah.
But, something like that, I mean, there is a potential level of negligence. They then, they handed their item to you. They put their item into your possession. You had a duty to make sure that it wasn't damaged. And if it is damaged or lost or stolen, there is a theory of liability that you may have to, go in your pocket
Okay.
and replace that.
Good to know. Thank you. That was one of the main reasons I wanted to cover this, because I was curious if anybody, because hey, it's that season right now where there's a lot of graduation
Stop inviting
parties,
criminals to your house.
Keep your eyes, and most importantly, have cameras set up so nothing gets past you. I would say that's a good lesson to be learned.
Yeah.
Let's wrap up this portion of the podcast. We're going to take our first break and come right back with the Chris Brown dog mauling housekeeper lawsuit. That'll be right back in this week's
Not
episode.
the lawyer. This one is the singer.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
correct. Let's make that distinction.
Me.
Chris
it
Brown,
ain't me.
the singer. We'll be right back in this week's episode of Verdicts and Vibes.
Let's go.
And we're back, and we're going right into Chris Brown. Okay, so a little confusing here. We have Chris Brown, the attorney, a very successful attorney, and we have Chris Brown, the musician, the singer.
He's a very successful singer.
Very successful singer. So we're talking about Chris Brown, the singer here. Chris Brown, the singer, is involved in a civil lawsuit that was filed against him by his former housekeeper. Her name is Patricia Avila. She sued him after she was allegedly attacked by one of his dogs. Now, I'm going to probably butcher the name of this dog. It's a Caucasian Ovcharka named Hades. That's
yeah,
the dog's
I'm not
name.
a dog guy.
So I'm a dog person, but I
Yeah.
had never heard of this dog before.
Yeah, all of this is new to me.
Yeah, it's also called the Caucasian Shepherd dog. So let's call it the Shepherd dog, the Caucasian Shepherd
It's
dog.
a big dog.
Big dog.
It's a
The dog's
monster.
name is Hades. Now,
You look like a small bear.
the dog looks like a small bear, but he looks like a cute small bear. So I'm not
you know
saying the dog.
something?
I know. Listen,
You know
I'm not saying the dog.
You
didn't attack her.
automatically are leading to we're gonna give the
No.
dog a pass. See,
I know, isn't that bad?
'Cause
That's
he's
terrible.
cute.
No, I'm not going to do that because I saw the alleged injuries, and they weren't pretty. I mean, she was absolutely mauled by something. So
Yeah.
the incident happened in Chris's LA home back in 2020, December of 2020. She is saying that when she took out the trash, the dog mauled her, causing severe injuries to her face and arms, which required extensive medical treatment and dozens of stitches. So she's saying the dog was allowed to roam the property despite being dangerous, saying Chris Brown and his staff failed to properly control the animal. And the suit also alleges that after the attack, the dog was removed from the property and later euthanized, raising questions about evidence preservation, which I didn't know that part of the suit. That actually makes me really sad. I'm really sad about that. Why are you going... Although that you hear that happening a lot. If a dog is a danger...
Yeah, that's
That a
not
dog-
odd to me to hear that.
Right.
I guess they're saying we can't see the dog, so we can't present the dog to the jury. Well, you can show the jury pictures. You know, so
Right.
that one right there, I'm not buying, as we can no longer show you what the dog looked like because
Right.
the dog, has been put down. I'm not buying that. But I will say that I did see the injuries that the housekeeper had, and they're serious. There are serious
Absolutely.
injuries. Do I look at it and say this is $90 million worth of injuries?
Okay, so that's where I was going next. Because we haven't mentioned that part of it yet. She's suing for $90 million. Go ahead.
And it becomes, again, I'm just looking at the imagery that I saw online, and she did have, I would have to say, serious injuries.
Significant.
It's significant injuries to her face. I did see that. Do I think it's $90 million worth? No. It looked like scratches to me that needed stitches. That to me is very different than, half your cheek is bitten off by a dog or something like that. But you can literally see her face, and the injuries from what I saw was on the one side of her cheek and kind of like in between her eyes, like on the bridge of her nose. That's what I saw. Maybe there are worse images, but that's just what I saw. From what I saw, it's not $90 million worth of injuries.
Okay, but here's my question to you as an attorney. from what I understand, and of all of the fake law that I've ever watched on TV and like to pretend that I know what I'm talking about here. Mm-hmm. When you are filing a civil suit, isn't the majority of the money that you're going to get is from punitive damages, quote unquote punitive damages?
Well, you would have to assume that not every stage or every lawsuit will have a punitive damages phase. Not everything is that. You know, if you have a negligence, if you have a car accident case, is there a punitive damages part of the car accident? No. It's just, what do you have for actual or compensatory, damages to make you whole? And again, I'm not in any way saying that the injuries are insignificant. I think the injuries are significant. I know that there was also like some injuries to her arm. Serious. Do I think it's 90 million? No, I don't think it's 90 million.
But I mean, you have, on top of the actual injuries and hospital bills, you have lost wages. Yeah. You have emotional damage.
All right, let's talk about lost wages.
Okay.
I don't know how old she is. Maybe let's just say she's 35. I have no idea how old she is. What are the lost wages? And I'm going to be very generous. Let's just say for the next 40 years. I think that would be generous, right?
Yes.
What are the lost wages for 40 years for a housekeeper?
For Chris Brown? Because we gotta admit here, I'm sure she was getting paid.
No, you said lost wages.
Lost wages.
All right, let's put it on the highest end of the highest of end of housekeepers.
Okay.
You make $100,000 a year. That's far more than the average median. Right. The average person in America.
Yep.
Makes makes about $60,000 a year. Let's make her the highest of housekeepers. That's more than a housekeeper makes at the Waldorf, at the Ritz. Okay?
Yep.
$100,000 a year. Let's do it for the next 40 years. Let's be real nice. You got your calculator out.
I do.
What's that?
$4 million.
That's not $90 million.
Which is bad because we both should have been able to figure that out. But math was not my strong point.
No, well, you had to calculate. I knew what it was, but I didn't want to. I didn't want to cut you off. It's just me then. Because you was looking. I can count, sis.
I can't.
Now
I can count, little, but no.
But now that's not $90 million, and I think we were very generous.
We were
with that compensation. Now, is there emotional damage also that I think that they will be responsible for if she is successful? Yeah. I think the scarring that this woman is going to have to deal with it is significant.
Absolutely.
Do I think that gets us to $90 million? No. Now, with all of that said, and I think we both will admit that these injuries are significant. I think we can both admit that she is going to be looking at herself very, very differently for the rest of her life.
Meaning, okay, so you mean physically?
Physically.
Okay.
And that she's also going to have some emotional issues moving on.
Absolutely.
I think all of that is legit. But now, the question becomes, who is to blame for this?
Ooh, good question.
If it's Chris Brown, okay. Do I think he has some responsibility? From what I've read about this lawsuit, the dog belonged to his security team. The dogs were in his home. And obviously it's his home. He knows they are there. He knows what their purpose is. Do I think as the owner of the home and as the individual that secured the employment of the security team, does he have responsibility? Absolutely. He is going to have responsibility. Is the dog owner, is that security team, are they also going to have any kind of liability? Now, what I'm unsure of is the security team basically his and he's paying them directly, or is it a separate company that he has hired to provide the security 24 hours a day? They have their own insurance policy. They have their own everything. I don't know the answer to that. But now, what the defense is alleging in this case is, well, we told her not to go in that area, and she went in that area. It's her own fault. Now, is that a strong argument? I don't know. We're going to see what happens with that. But if she was actually told, or maybe even signed a written policy of you stay away from there without our consent, you can only go by those dogs with our permission, that would be very strong evidence that she wasn't supposed to be there. But all of this is still yet to be played out. I don't know what's going on with this case. There was a previous mistrial before
Correct.
everything
we didn't
started.
even mention that. Actually, let's take our second break, and we're going to get into that because there was a mistrial declared for a very interesting reason. We'll take our second break on this week's episode of Verdicts and Vibes. We'll come right back.
Let's go.
All right, so before the break, we mentioned the mistrial. There was a mistrial declared. Now, the mistrial wasn't declared because of anything that the attorneys did, or
the parties didn't do anything either.
The jurors couldn't come to a decision. It wasn't that. It was one of the jurors broke a rule that in Law 101, if anybody who's ever watched any sort of trial on TV, the number one thing they always say is stay off the internet. Do not do any research on the case. Do not go on social media, XYZ. And one of the jurors actually went and did research on the case.
Imagine that.
And not only looked it up for themselves, was allegedly showing it off. Hey, look what I found to other jurors.
Yeah.
And hence, a mistrial was declared. Now, I don't know, Chris, you said that you've never really heard of this happening. It was declared, but then a couple days later, meaning the fact that a couple days later, Chris Brown was back on the stand.
Well, mistrials happen. I mean, I see that happen, probably more than people think.
Right. That's not what I meant. I'm sorry. I meant you hadn't seen the fact that there was a mistrial, and within 2 days, Chris Brown was already back up on the stand testifying.
And then there's been no update since.
Correct.
That's the thing that I don't understand is what happened. Because if he's testifying, he can only testify, obviously in his own defense, or as in the case in chief for the plaintiff. And you see that sometimes on the civil side. It's not like this is a criminal case. You can't sit here and talk about Fifth Amendment rights. That's not, what's going on here. So this case has since disappeared.
It really has. I mean, we know he testified
and we don't know what
happened. The dog wasn't
since.
his.
Yeah.
But, we haven't heard a thing about it. I mean, it's only been about a week. The mistrial was declared on June 16th. As of the recording of this podcast, it is June 23rd. So a week ago, there was a mistrial declared. And
the testimony that he provided, I think, helps and hurts this case.
Explain.
I mean, well, first, he said that, he stayed with her. He stayed with her. He didn't touch her. But, he was concerned. Obviously, they got the dog off of her. And then there was some testimony that he did leave the home, and they were asking him why didn't he call 911, and he said...
He was afraid of the call being leaked to the press.
Well, yeah, I mean, if there's a Chris Brown 911 call, that's going to be everywhere to be heard.
Absolutely.
I get what he's saying, but he doesn't have to make the call. There's other people in the house. It appeared that the plaintiff was trying to make a lot that Chris didn't personally make the phone call, and that's ridiculous. Someone called.
I think you're right. I think that's all that matters is that somebody called.
Yeah, somebody called.
Why does it have to be him that calls?
It didn't have to be him. They wanted to ask him, well, did you touch her? Did you put a pillow under her head? Basically saying, did you act as if you were the nurse? Did you have a good bedside manner, while she was injured? He said he didn't touch her. That doesn't strike me as odd either, but they're playing to the sympathy. Oh, you didn't call? You too good to call? Oh, you didn't give her a pillow? Come on. These are things that, unfortunately, can impact a jury. When you are playing to that emotional side of this... Hence
why, for this particular case, you would want a jury trial.
That's why you want a jury. A judge is not going to be buying any of that.
Absolutely.
If you have a bench trial.
Right.
So that's kind of what the plaintiff has been, pulling the jury into. Is it effective? We'll find out. But does it change the issue of liability? He actually said, he felt some level of responsibility from what I'm reading. But He also said it wasn't my dog. It was my securities team's dog.
But by you hiring said security team, doesn't
Correct.
that make you somewhat responsible?
In some respects,
Okay.
yes. They will have to then prove, okay, did you engage in a negligent hiring? You know, did you know that this dog was going to be this, let's just say, dangerous? Now, having the dog put down is not going to be of help to Chris Brown and the security team. But I'm still wondering, is he the only defendant in this case? Because I can't tell. Is the security entity or that LLC or whatever, is that company also a defendant in this case? And if they are, I can almost guarantee you there's an insurance policy involved, or there should be an insurance policy involved, which could make all of this go away. The fact that we are at trial on something like this tells me that they really believe they have a strong defense, which we haven't heard of yet. Or
right,
maybe,
because not to cut you off, Chris, but my question in my head right now is, why did they not just settle this out of court?
Well, yeah.
Clearly there's responsibility to be taken from someone, be it security, be it Chris Brown, not $90 million worth. But there's some kind of responsibility to be had. Why is this in court?
Now, we haven't heard from any other witness. The only witness testimony that has been leaked to the press is Chris Brown's.
Right.
We don't know what she said. We don't know what the owner of the dog said. We don't know what possible defenses that they can claim, which would all go to what we call assumption of risk. Did this woman assume an assumption of risk by engaging in some action? Now, what that could be, I don't know. But if you know that there's a territorial guard dog, the last thing you want to do is go pet it. Now, I mean,
although he is really cute. But
now,
anyways, I get what you're saying.
If you're being told to stay away from that area, and you go into that area.
Listen, the number one thing for me as a dog lover, I love animals, right?
Yeah.
Anytime I see a dog out and about, the first thing I do is ask the owner if it's okay to pet the dog. Because you don't know. Like, you could look at a dog and say, oh, he looks cute, but, you know, the thing could bite your hand off. So, you know, I'm just saying.
Yeah. I mean, so I don't really know just yet what the actual defense is. But it strikes me as, if you had insurance would have settled this, because the line for something like this is, if she wins, it could be a pretty big hit.
Oof.
Now, granted, I would say her injuries are very significant. If you lose on her end, well, what? Now you get nothing for this.
So if she loses, let's just say the jury comes back and does not find Chris Brown responsible. Does she get nothing?
Let's say they do not find Chris Brown responsible for what I would call a negligent hiring theory. That doesn't mean that the security company is in the same boat.
Okay.
The security company may be liable.
So could she then file a separate suit against them?
I don't even know if the insurance company is a defendant in this case.
Right.
And they may be. See, because the way this reads, and again, I don't have the actual complaint, they're not going to tell you that they're another defendant in the case, the security company. The media is just going to focus on Chris Brown.
Of course, because that's what they want to. Yeah,
but
it's the headline grabbing.
I'm really going to think that there's a separate security company, that they're a party to this, and if they didn't settle this, I want to know why. Do they really think that she assumed a level of risk here? And that happens. It's kind of like, imagine being at a Red Sox game and somebody gets dinged in the head with a foul ball and they hemorrhage and they die. Is the Red Sox responsible for that? No. You assume the risk of getting hit in the head with a ball when you decided to go to Fenway Park. That's not on the Red Sox. They didn't do anything negligent, unless you want to claim, well, maybe the netting wasn't further
secured, whatever.
You know, those types of things. So, but if you know there is a guard dog there, and this isn't your first day there, what happened? Why were you able to complete all your services previously without ever getting bitten?
Right.
What happened today What was so different today to where all of a sudden this dog mauled you? And I would love to know the answer to that. That's why we have trials.
So let's just say the jury comes back and does find that Chris Brown's liable.
Okay.
Is there a whole separate phase where they would then determine damages? And if so, how does that work?
No, that's what we would call bifurcation. And bifurcation is you have 2 trials. Your first trial is just on liability.
Yep.
Are we going to find anyone responsible? If no one is responsible, we don't even get to discuss
Part 2.
damages.
Gotcha.
Now, lots of trials are not bifurcated. And the jury will find liability, and then they will tell you exactly what the damages are. That's how it normally works. But there are many instances in which you do have bifurcation occur. I don't know if that's happening here.
Okay.
I don't even know where we are in the witness.
This is the thing that's so now, as of the recording of this podcast being Tuesday the 23rd, there's been no update. So we have no clue. We just know that Chris Brown testified.
That's it.
It could be in the jury's hands right now, but they have not updated this. So by the time this comes out on Thursday the 25th, we could have a verdict already.
We could. Then we're going to have to go live and then talk to the people.
Yeah, we can go live on Thursday, so be on the lookout for that. But, all right, so if I were to give you, if you had to bet, if you had to put money on Polymarket, what do you think's going to happen here? Because I have my prediction. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first for a change.
I'm going to say I think that he is going to be held liable. And when they go to part 2, I don't think it's going to be anywhere close to $90 million. I think they'll probably give her maybe 30. That's just my guess.
30,000?
No, 30 million.
Oh my God.
I do. I think.
Oh God.
Listen, I think emotional damage. I think all the surgeries she had to have or the injuries that she had. I think lost wages, punitive, all that crap. I think it all goes in. I think 30 million. I think is what she's going to get awarded. I could be way off. She might get 1. Who knows?
Well,
but this is why I'm not the lawyer and you are.
I do believe that there's probably going to be a liability component in which Chris and the security company will be held responsible for her damages.
And
I do believe that. I'm going to say this because this incident occurred several years ago.
Yes.
The thing that could potentially hurt her is this trial is like 6 years or so, almost 6 years after the incident, I believe.
Correct.
So her injuries are not going to appear nearly as fresh or as awful as they would have in, let's just say, 2021.
Right.
So they're going to be looking at her in the way of this is what she's probably going to look like, forever. Now, that doesn't mean she may not have additional, surgeries to correct whatever is happening. I know what it looked like before, but I've seen some images of then and now, and she doesn't look nearly as bad as somebody would say you were mauled by a dog.
Right.
Which is what everyone is saying here. She was mauled by a dog. When you look at her, you say, okay, yeah, I get it. You definitely got some injuries. I don't see 90 million.
Okay.
But you're saying
this is what I'm thinking, right?
She's not gonna get 30. She's not gonna get 30 in my mind.
But think of how much
they gonna give her $1 million.
Corrective surgery she probably had to have, and how much trauma she went through, and how much recovery time, and just PTSD, all of that. Like I'm thinking as like a victim.
And they would be responsible for all of those costs.
You're saying $1 million? That's it?
I mean, just in my head.
Yeah.
I'm thinking. See, juries always surprise me.
Yeah.
When I think they're going to give a big number, sometimes they don't. When I think they're going to give, a small number, I'm like, oh, I wasn't expecting that.
Okay.
Now, but I think she is in what I would call a class of people that sympathy runs high when the claims are legitimate. Sympathy runs low when the claims are illegitimate. I think from just looking at her, I really do believe she is in a class of people that runs high.
I agree.
Sympathy is going to run high.
I agree.
Unlike the woman who was claiming millions of dollars, the security guard against Cardi B.
Cardi B. It's so funny because that's the other case I
That
was thinking in my
sympathy level
head.
is not high.
Way low. You can tell when someone's out for a money grab. However, I do feel like the amount that this woman's asking for makes it a little borderline.
Well, we're just going to have to see.
Yeah.
I mean, it could very well be that, she really intends to have maybe additional surgeries. But, I mean, from the actual compensatory type damages, people try to put a lot of stuff on emotional damage. And she is going to be scarred for her life emotionally.
Absolutely.
Looking at herself. And what value do you put on that?
Right, and that's kind of where
And
I was
I don't
helping
know
with
the
$30
answer
million.
to
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
But do I think that they're going to sit there and say $30 million? No, I
Okay.
don't see that.
All right.
But then it becomes, what is the value?
Right.
What is the value of a life? Okay. I can tell you that when we tried the Bobby Christina case in Georgia over Bobby Christina's death, we secured a judgment of about $30 million for a wrongful death case. That's what we got. $30 million for wrongful death. Do I believe that the mauling by a dog is the equivalent of the loss of life? Not at all. Not at all. So do I see this being a $30 million judgment? No. Do I see it properly being made whole for wages or for the cost of her surgeries and for the emotional damage? Yeah. I could literally see something like $3-4 million if they find liability. But to compare that to the loss of life.
See, I didn't. It's interesting that you brought that up because I didn't know that the Bobby Christina wrongful death was only $30 million. So now when you put that into perspective, it makes more sense why you're on the side of, a lot less money.
Yes, experience.
Yeah, of course. Right.
Yeah, that's
right.
all.
Of you being an actual attorney and me just being somebody who's, pays attention from time to time.
Yeah.
But okay, we're going to wrap this up. And I think, we'll see where this goes. Because, again, we have no idea what phase we are in this trial because there has been no updates as much as Chris and I have been trying to dig in deep here. We can't find anything. So maybe before Thursday, we'll have an update. Either way, if and when we do get an update, Chris and I will try to go live depending on what each of us are doing. Chris does have a life. I mean, I have a life, but my radio life is over at like 10:30 in the morning, and then I can kind of go to meetings and whatever it is I have to do. Chris is actually, dealing with trials and clients, and trust me, he's getting hit up every time we go to record. His phone is constantly ringing, whether it be from Ray J or from,
Don't be putting my business out in the street.
Well, you already know. People
I'm
know.
playing.
Anyways, but yes, you know what I'm saying. So we'll keep you guys posted as soon as there's any updates to this. In the meantime, please tell a friend about the podcast. We love you all. Any way that this podcast is going to grow is from your help, and we are growing, and I do appreciate you all. So tell a friend to like, share, and subscribe. We are also on Instagram and on TikTok, Verdicts and Vibes. If you have a question you want to ask Chris for entertainment purposes only, you can always email us, verdictsandvibes@yahoo.com. Or you can send us a DM and we will get back to you. But we really appreciate each and every one of you listening to the podcast every week. And for that, we're going to take our week-long break, and we'll be back next week for a brand new episode of Verdicts and Vibes. Verdicts and Vibes, where we separate the facts
From the fame.
Have a great week, everyone.
Let's go.